The Atheism Delusion. When asked about my religious views, I usually call myself an agnostic. But if I had to describe my views more accurately, it would be fair to say that I'm a lapsed atheist. Born in the mecca of non-belief that was Soviet Russia, my view of religious people as ignorant, obscurantist and doctrinaire was only reinforced by watching my comedy heroes like George Carlin and Bill Hicks take big and legitimate swings at the disconnect between the teachings of religion and the behavior of the religious. Hicks summed this incongruity up perfectly by recalling a story of three men approaching him after a gig in Alabama.
Mr. Funny Man, come here. Hey, buddy, we're Christians. We don't like what you said. I said, then forgive me.
Today, in a world in which the religious right has less obvious impact on our world, jokes of this kind would have little resonance. But my youth was infused with example after example of stuffy religious conservatives attempting to enforce their values on the rest of society by attempting to censor Eminem's song lyrics, trying to prevent Monty Python's Life of Brian from being shown in cinemas, and trying to push through the idea that creationism should be taught in schools. This backdrop provided the perfect opportunity for the emergence of daring countercultural figures who could use their erudition, wit, and refreshing honesty to effortlessly take apart the tired old arguments for a religious worldview. In the wake of 9/11, the four horsemen of new atheism, Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, and Daniel Dennett, came forward to re-articulate the importance of Enlightenment values of truth, science, and liberty from religious dogma. They were smart, charismatic, and above all, they were cool. Dawkins wrote terrific books like The Selfish Gene and The Blind Watchmaker, which made evolutionary theory simple to understand and debunked unscientific claims about the nature of our world. Hitchens applied the power of reason and rationality to debates, obliterating his opponents with a uniquely British civilized ruthlessness, illustrating the cowardice of those who engaged in embarrassing apologetics for the murderous actions of religious zealots as they sought to enforce blasphemy laws in our society through violence and terror. Sam Harris became a hero to many when he found himself attempting to articulate the problem with Islam on Bill Maher's show, only to be shouted down by Ben Affleck in what quickly became the talk of the internet. The new atheists were exciting because they were saying something new, challenging the dogma of their day and speaking truth to power. Not content with proving that religion wasn't true, they ventured further in attempting to prove religion was at best unnecessary and more likely harmful. To this end, Dawkins wrote The God Delusion in 2006 and Hitchens delivered God Is Not Great the following year. The argument was no longer about encouraging religious people to calm down and leave the rest of us alone. It was increasingly that religion was inherently wrong and bad. It was around this point that I began to lose my faith in atheism. The God Delusion was the last Dawkins book I read, and the appeal of that discussion waned quickly for several reasons. First, it was clear to me that to attempt to challenge Islamic extremists with facts and logic as Dawkins, Hitchens, and Harris had done was to fail on purpose. Despite their efforts, most of the Western world today operates under de facto blasphemy laws, which are enforced not by religious activists lobbying for censorship, but by knife-wielding fanatics and suicide bombers. The liberalism that the new atheists so enthusiastically espouse, the idea that we should be free to criticize, mock, and satirize anything, including religion, only works when the government is willing to protect you from the consequences. In seeking to liberate us from the tyrannical instincts of dogmatic Christians, the new atheists actually delivered us into the hands of a different and far more pernicious religious zealotry, from which the ordinary citizen has no security at all. Second, the fact that many religious ideas are scientifically inaccurate, and that religion has been and continues to be used for evil, is not in dispute. Indeed, one of the core claims of the new atheists is that religion produced evils that were far worse than the body count of non-believers. Sure, Stalin, Hitler, and Mao were bad, they argued, but they weren't motivated by their atheism or its holy book. This view of the Holocaust, Stalinism, and the Great Leap Forward as accidental byproducts of a non-complicit atheism is, to me, a complete misunderstanding of the impact a lack of religious faith has on the way we think about other human beings. The central positive feature of the religious worldview is to ensure that human beings do not see themselves as the sole arbiters of truth and justice, that having torn God down from his pedestal, we do not put ourselves in his place. Yes, of course, atheist mass murderers like Stalin and Hitler weren't motivated to kill millions because of religious differences, but their ability to rationalize their actions and to persuade other people to support them was a product of the sense in which, in the absence of God, we get to make up any rules we want. This is precisely why we had to invent the concept of human rights in the immediate aftermath of World War II. Without a worldview in which we are all worthy of dignity and respect by virtue of being children of God, you have to reinvent that particular wheel through the United Nations. My point is, it is extremely easy to prove that religion is evil, but I am not convinced that proving that it causes more evil than its absence is quite as easy. Third, the central question new atheists fail to answer, and one that we put to Richard Dawkins in this interview here, is whether, irrespective of how scientifically true religion may or may not be, it is nonetheless both useful and inevitable. The Dawkins answer is as close to quoting Karl Marx's idea that religion is the opium of the masses as you can get without reproducing it verbatim.
The comfort that you get from believing a falsehood is like a drug, and it's a perfectly valid argument to say that there's everything to be said for the drug.
This is a persuasive argument in the sense that truth matters irrespective of how uncomfortable or impractical it may be. But the problem here is that the absence of old religion seems to produce only a vacuum into which a new religion rushes in. And this new religion has just as little regard for the truth as the old ones. That's why Richard Dawkins, who spent his best years arguing with creationists, is now increasingly forced to explain basic biological concepts, like the inability to change your sex by incantation, on national television. The reason new atheism has lost its mojo is that it has no answers to the lack of meaning and purpose that our post-Christian societies are suffering from. What will fill that void? Religious people have their answer. Do the rest of us? If you enjoy these videos, please note that they're available on my Substack sometimes weeks or even months ahead of time, so make sure to click the link in the description, head on over now, and be sure to subscribe. Before you go, let me tell you about this new supplement that has got a lot of people excited. In our interview with the brilliant Tim Urban, he said,
we should be talking about longevity and longevity science.
Researchers like the biologist David Sinclair have recently made game-changing discoveries showing that it's possible to slow down aging or even reverse it with interventions that go beyond healthy habits. And this is why I'm using Verso. Verso is a company dedicated to translating scientific breakthroughs into products that hold the potential to increase longevity. As we age, we accumulate zombie cells, old damaged cells that linger beyond their useful life. These zombie cells infect other healthy cells, speeding up the aging process. That's where we see wrinkles, arthritis, hair loss, cognitive deterioration, and so on. What scientists have realized is that when we induce autophagy, the body's natural cleanup process, we can starve these zombie cells of energy and kill them. This is where Clean Being comes in with its thoughtfully formulated blend of clinically proven ingredients intended to activate autophagy for improved cellular health. After taking Clean Being for some time, clinical trials have proven better skin, less inflammation, healthier hair, hormonal regulation, better immunity, enhanced vision, and enhanced cognitive function, amongst many other incredible results. If you want to read more about all of the research, then check out the reference link in the description of this video. Plus, Verso publishes third-party testing on every batch of its products to guarantee that you're getting exactly what you're paying for. So, if you want to join me, you can get 15% off your first order by going to ver.so. That's ver.so, and use code TRIGGER to save 15% off your first order.